context for us. और जो पीछे खड़े हैं और सुनना चाहें, मेरा नाम वृंदा ग्रोवर है, मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट में वकील हूँ और यहाँ पर कानून की बात कर रही हूँ. सब सुन सकते हैं, ये बातें हिंदुस्तान में हमें चर्चा में करनी चाहिए. आप सामने आके भी बैठ सकते हैं अगर इसमें आपकी रुचि हो. ये कोई सीक्रेट खुफिया बातें नहीं हो रही है. हिंदुस्तान के कानून पर बात कर रहे हैं, जो मेरा काम है करना. It's okay, let him be. He wants to raise a citizen, he should hear. I welcome people. हम आज अभी निवेदिता ने हमको बोला how to look at the Uniform Civil Code, which has been passed in one state. We know that the Constitution, Article 44 कहता है the state shall endeavor. It was a different moment in India's history when this kind of approach was made, and as we have always believed, India has a transformative constitution, which means that the constitution, the Supreme Court has held this repeatedly, कि संविधान की जो सोच है, जो हमारी जो हम अधिकारों के बारे में सोचते हैं, वो पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी आगे बढ़ता जाता है. नवते जौहर का जजमेंट उसका एक एग्जाम्पल है. पुट्टुस्वामी का 9 जज बेंच का जजमेंट उसका एक उदाहरण है. And I will come to the Puttaswamy judgment because it has a direct bearing on what we are discussing today. What is the recently in 2018, the governments had asked the Law Commission of India to have a consultation paper on reform in family laws, and these aspects were examined by the Law Commission of India. So what did the Law Commission conclude? After looking at, there's a consultation paper, it's available on their website, please have a look at it. उन्होंने बहुत से लोगों से उनके राय मांगी और उन्होंने खुद इसके ऊपर खूब विचार किया और एक पेपर प्रेजेंट किया. उसकी कंक्लूजन्स क्या थी लॉ कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया की? उन्होंने कहा रिलीजियस आइडेंटिटी इज इम्पोर्टेंट टू विमेन. देयर इज नो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन द राइट टू इक्वालिटी एंड द राइट टू फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन. Just administration of law in a secular society demands that one reconciles both. And I'm now quoting from the Law Commission. Both these positions are not exclusive to one another, and one has to reconcile both freedom of religion and right to equality in order to justly administer the law. Both these rights are valuable and guaranteed to every citizen of the country, and to necessitate women to choose between one or the other is an unfair choice. Therefore, women must be guaranteed their freedom of faith without any compromise on their right to equality. At this stage, these rights can be reconciled by making piecemeal changes to laws whenever necessary. So it's interesting, they felt that yes, there is a need to change laws, and I actually support that position completely. There is a need to change laws. Laws have been continuously changed. Since 1950 onwards, people have gone to court. The last was the example of triple talaq and Shaira Bano. But that's not the only one. All laws of this country and women have gone forward and used their agency and the forum of constitutional courts to ask for changes in law. Discrimination and not difference lies at the root of inequality. And the Law Commission said, the fact that secular laws such as Special Marriage Act also continue to suffer from lacunae suggests that even codified or religion-neutral laws offer no straightforward guarantee of justice. Uniformity of laws does not address the issue of inequality within communities. Therefore, it is urged, and this is the Law Commission's recommendation, therefore it is urged that the legislature should first consider guaranteeing equality within communities between men and women rather than equality between communities. This way, some of the differences within personal laws which are meaningful can be preserved and inequality can be weeded out to the greatest extent possible without absolute uniformity. Resolution of this conflict does not mean abolition of difference. This commission has therefore dealt with laws that are discriminatory rather than providing a uniform civil code, which is neither necessary nor desirable at this stage. Most countries are now moving towards recognition of difference, and the mere existence of difference does not imply discrimination but is indicative of a robust democracy. This is the Law Commission of India in 2018. I would not be surprised if another law commission on exactly the same subject is set up, because that's a new thing the government is now doing. If they don't like something, they ask for yet another opinion on the matter. Let's come to Uttarakhand, which has claimed, and there was a whole committee that was set up, और उत्तराखंड ने पहला यूसीसी का कानून असेंबली ने पारित किया है. अभी उसको एसेंट मिलना है प्रेसिडेंट का, एंड द रूल्स दैट हैव टू बी मेड फॉर इट टू बी एक्चुअली ऑपरेशनलाइज्ड. News media reports suggest that a committee has been formed, but it is yet to be, the rules are yet to come into being, so it's not law as yet. Who will this apply to? This is very interesting, and I don't know if we have any students from Uttarakhand here, because it gives a definition of resident, and it says anybody who is a citizen of India, whether residing within or outside the territory of the state of Uttarakhand. If you are a permanent resident of the state of Uttarakhand और आप JNU में भी पढ़ रहे हैं, तो ये कानून आपके ऊपर लागू होगा. अगर आप एक परमानेंट एम्प्लॉय स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के, आप सोच लीजिए आप उत्तराखंड भवन में, वैसे हमारे यहाँ तो पूरे हिंदुस्तान में आजकल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेबर चल रही है, पर आप सोच लीजिए आप उत्तराखंड भवन में परमानेंट स्टेट एम्प्लॉय हैं और आप रहने वाले उत्तराखंड के नहीं हैं, आप कहीं के भी रहने वाले हो सकते हैं, आप वहां के परमानेंट एम्प्लॉय हैं उत्तराखंड भवन में दिल्ली में, तो वहां पर आप अगर नौकरी कर रहे हैं तो आपके ऊपर, क्योंकि आप स्टेट एम्प्लॉय हैं, आपके ऊपर ये वाला यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड अप्लाई करेगा, चाहे आप पैदाइश कहीं और किसी और राज्य की हो सकती है. यू आर अ परमानेंट एम्प्लॉय ऑफ द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, मे बी यू आर पोस्टेड इन, आई डोंट नो, CRPF or any such force or any state function. You may be part of the election commission or any other thing, and you're posted over there, but you're a permanent employee of the central government. Then this will apply to you. You have resided for over a year in Uttarakhand, it will apply to you. So the scope of who is a resident on whom this will apply is actually way wider than one would commonsensically think about it. All these people on them, or you are a beneficiary of any scheme of the state government or the central government which is applicable in the state of Uttarakhand, then this will apply to you. So that is just for us to understand. Who will it not apply to? Who are exempted? The scheduled tribes. Now, let us look at to understand this. It's not my case कि scheduled tribes को या आदिवासी लोगों को भी इसके अंदर लाया जाए, मगर क्योंकि हमें समझना है कि क्या रैशनल है उसके पीछे, तो अगर किसी को एग्जेम्प्ट किया गया है तो उसके पीछे क्या सोच रही है, उसके लिए जानना जरूरी है. Let us look at what is the demography of Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand, as per the 2011 census, as we know, there hasn't been a census in over a decade, which is again a first in India, of course. You have 82.97% people who practice the Hindu religion. In all the 13 districts of Uttarakhand, Hindus are the dominant community. The Muslim population in Uttarakhand is 13.95%. The Christian population is 0.37%, while the tribal population, the ST population, is 3 to 4% of the population. So the ST population is actually much more than any of the religious minorities. It is also nobody's case, not even the case of the people who have enacted this, that there is no discrimination against women within the scheduled tribe community or in the customary laws. In all customary laws, in all personal laws, there is inherent discrimination, particularly against women. There is not a single personal law that is that can claim that there is no discrimination. Yes, in some, due to it being either the majority group and therefore a greater space for leverage and advocacy, or through the courts, greater equality has been brought in. Nivedita also mentioned about, looking at that, what does this do? So before I jump into the live-in relationships, which is something that has been in conversation a lot, इसमें जैसे अगर आपको कानून में बदलाव लाने हैं, जैसे मैंने कहा हर कानून में निहित है कि महिलाओं के साथ भेदभाव रहता है, तो वो जो अगर हमको कानून में बदलाव लाने हैं तो किस तरह के बदलाव हैं जो हर कानून में जरूरी है, जो इसमें नहीं दिखने को मिलता। क्योंकि अगर आपको एक अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली है और आप कुछ नया बना रहे हैं, तो फॉर इंस्टेंस बहुत देर से एक बातचीत चलती है कि एक नो फॉल्ट डिवोर्स होना चाहिए, कि जरूरी नहीं है कि दो लोग एक दूसरे से तलाक ले रहे हैं तो उनको बोलना है कि तुम्हारे लिए गलती है, तुमने ये किया, तुमने वो किया। एक नो फॉल्ट डिवोर्स एक प्रोग्रेसिव आइडिया है जिसको अपनाने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए। उसी तरह एक बहुत पिछड़ी हुई सोच है जो कानून में, हिंदू कानून में है, रेस्टिट्यूशन ऑफ कॉन्जुगल राइट्स, कि अगर कोई महिला साथ नहीं भी रहना चाहती, कोर्ट का आदेश होगा कि आपका हक है महिला के ऊपर, इसलिए अब वो आपके साथ रहेगी और आप उसके साथ संबंध बना सकते हैं। उस तरह की बातें इसमें से हटाने का हमने कोई अलग से प्रयास हमें नहीं दिखा। इसमें जो एक सोच आई है वो, जैसे निवेदिता ने भी कहा कि, और मेरा मानना है कि अगर हम कुछ दौर से देखें इस तरह के कानून आ रहे हैं, एक और कानून जो बहुत से राज्यों ने पास किया है, जिसका आयरॉनिकली नेम है फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन एक्ट, बट दे आर बेसिकली एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉज, और जो फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन को एक्चुअली रिस्ट्रिक्ट करता है, और वो बहुत से एटलीस्ट 11 राज्य उसको पेश कर चुके हैं। उसकी चुनौती, चैलेंज जो है वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में प्रेजेंटली पेंडिंग है। In that also, what comes out very strikingly is how the underlying subtext, while it is a facially neutral law and it's a gender neutral law, what it is actually doing is to control women's freedom of choice, particularly in intimate partner, as well as in controlling women's sexualities and bodily autonomy. And that is the domain within which increasingly we see the government passing laws. Or khaskar, I think for women this is very important to note, that laws are going to be passed, and this the gun is going to be fired from our shoulder. This is for us, for women, and therefore women have to be engaging with these issues and be critical in their understanding of it. So yes, this is about, in fact, if you look at the live-in relationship control that has been brought in through this, it is actually, you see a shift being made from patriarchy to state control and paternalism taking place. If at all there is a shift from patriarchy, but state control and paternalism are writ large over the new legislations that are coming in. And we see that even in many of the practices and policies that the state enacts in the name of giving women justice. So first of all, what does it do? It says that, and I've already read out to you कि किस के ऊपर ये अप्लाई करेगा। अगर आपने तय किया है कि आप एक लिव इन हेट्रोसेक्सुअल रिश्ते में, ये दूसरे रिश्तों के बारे में बात नहीं करता, और एंड बिफोर आई गेट इनटू दिस आई वांट टू पॉइंट आउट द वेरी सेम स्टेट व्हेन नॉट वेरी लॉन्ग अगो द मैरिज इक्वालिटी or same-sex marriage cases were being argued in the Supreme Court of India. इसी यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से बहुत जोर से बहस की गई थी कि शादी नहीं अलाउ कर सकते हम कंसेंसुअल एडल्ट सेम सेक्स रिश्तों में, ये कोहैबिट करें, क्योंकि शादी बहुत प्योर है, ये इसमें नहीं घुसना चाहिए। इन लोगों को जैसे भी कोहैबिट करें, हम इनको कुछ नहीं पूछेंगे, कोई सवाल नहीं पूछेंगे, ये अपनी जिंदगी में जो मर्जी करे, स्टेट इसमें कुछ नहीं बोलेगा। Which was to tell them that you don't deserve. For those who believe Some may believe, some may not believe, but for those who believe, it was said you don't deserve the recognition that the institution of marriage gives. So not even under Special Marriage Act, forget any religious sanctity, but get out of this marriage. The institution of marriage you will not get. You can go and cohabit. Okay? The very same state is now talking to Uttarakhand heterosexual couples. और उनको क्या कह रहे हैं? अगर आप कोहैबिट करेंगे तो हमें बताइए, हम तय करेंगे आप ठीक है ये रिश्ता की नहीं थी. So you know, even if you try and understand, there is a running thread through all this, and that is what I'm saying is what we need to be able to catch on to. If when we see these things in isolation, sometimes the whole picture does not emerge. So if you decide to have a live-in relationship, which incidentally is not a new thing even for Indian law, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act passed way back in 2005, again something that comes out of the women's movements, experiences on the ground, that women suffering from domestic violence in matrimonial homes or in natal families, all women, whether you're a mother, sister, daughter, wife, etc., require the protection of law, both right to residence and protection orders. उसमें लिव इन रिलेशनशिप को पहली बार कानून में रिकग्निशन दी गई औरतों को प्रोटेक्शन देने के लिए. तो घरेलू हिंसा से घर में रहने के लिए, मेंटेनेंस के लिए और आपके बच्चों को लेजिटिमेट मानने के लिए कानून में पहले से ही है 2005 से. ये कोई नई चीज का आविष्कार नहीं हो रहा है. Women have protection and women have certain rights that flow from that protection under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. So to say that this law is being made because हमने कुछ जगहों पे पेरेंट्स से बात की, जैसे यहाँ पे हम ग्रुप में बैठ के बात कर रहे हैं, और उन्होंने कहा ये जो हो रहा है ये लड़कियों को फंसा रहे हैं, उनको पता नहीं चलता, उनको एक्सप्लॉइट किया जाता है, इसलिए हम ये कानून ला रहे हैं. कानून में प्रोटेक्शन है और बहुत तरह तरह की प्रोटेक्शन है कानून में, उसका लोग इस्तेमाल भी कर रहे हैं, कोई नई चीज नहीं आने वाली. पेरेंट्स क्या सोचते हैं, उसमें से भी पेरेंट्स के कितने पेरेंट्स ने क्या बोला, कौन पेरेंट्स है, मैं भी पेरेंट हूं, तो ये कोई राय बनाने का और कानून बनाने का ये कोई बेंचमार्क नहीं हो सकता है. If you decide as a heterosexual couple that you are going to live, within 30 days you have to give your statement in writing to a registrar who is going to be a administrative officer. We don't know who the registrar is. जैसे मैंने कहा, the rules are yet to be enacted, so we get to know. It can be an STM, it can be anybody who will be performing some government functionary. You have to go and give your statement that we two are in a live-in relationship. If any of the boy or the girl, man or woman, are under 21 years of age, a copy of that statement will go to your parents. You are an adult already at 18, but a copy will be sent to your parents if any of you are under 21. A copy will also be sent to the local police station. It says for their record. Why does the local police station need to know that I am living with somebody? Supposing somebody gets married, like a proper marriage, Hindu marriage or whatever, do you send a wedding card to the police station to inform them that henceforth these two are living as a husband and wife over here? So for record, because this is some suspicious activity, a record will be maintained, and after that what the police will do is up to everybody's own experience and imagination. Thereafter, a summary inquiry will be conducted by this registrar. वो summary inquiry में वो क्या सोचेंगे, क्या करेंगे, इसके बारे में कानून हमें नहीं बताता है, रूल्स बताएंगे कि नहीं, I can't say. वो समरी इंक्वायरी का मतलब ये तो हो गया कि हम, और ये कहते हैं कि वो किसी को भी बुला के बात कर सकते हैं, आपके पेरेंट्स को भी बुला सकते हैं, किसी थर्ड पार्टी को भी बुला सकते हैं, और क्या देखेंगे, सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ लिव इन आर प्रोहिबिटेड. Now this is a new thing that has come into the law. The PWDVA does not say that certain live-ins are allowed and certain live-ins are prohibited. This PWDVA looks at the live-in relationship from the lens, and that is ostensibly the reason for this. The PWDVA looks at it through the lens of the woman in the relationship, if suffering from any form of domestic violence, physical, verbal, emotional, sexual, economic, should get the protection of law. So they don't care what is the nature of the relationship. इसमें कहते हैं कि जो prohibited degrees है, जो हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट में लिखा होता है कि आप किससे शादी नहीं कर सकते unless it is allowed by custom, that this also allows because different parts of the country allow it differently. अगर वो prohibited रिश्ता है तो आप नहीं, उस लिव इन रिलेशनशिप को मान्यता रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं मिलेगी. अगर कोई माइनर है तो नहीं मिलेगी, but that is stating the obvious. In any case, sexual relations with a minor or child marriage restraint act, there's already all those laws, POCSO, etc. in place. There's nothing new that this is going to do. Nobody is going to go with a minor thing and say register it. Thirdly, it says if you are, there was some other thing it was saying in 380. If one is of the person is already married, then the live-in will not be recognized. The most important one, if the consent of the other partner has been obtained, and these words are very important, by force, coercion, undue influence, misrepresentation, or fraud as to any material fact or circumstance concerning the other partner, including her or his identity. इशारा किस तरफ है सब समझते हैं. तो इस सब के ऊपर समरी इंक्वायरी होगी. रजिस्ट्रार पढ़ेंगे और कहेंगे इंटरकास्ट है या इंटरफेथ है या इंटर जाति है कि नहीं, ये इसने कुछ बातें बताई नहीं है, इसलिए मैं इसकी रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं मानता. दैट इज द एंड ऑफ द मैटर. So you cannot thereafter live in because after a summary inquiry, your registration has been declined. Here and after, if you continue to live, that relationship is illegal in the eyes of this law. अगर आप स्टेटमेंट नहीं देंगे तो आपके ऊपर आपको 3 महीने की जेल हो सकती है. दिस इज एक्चुअली कमिंग फ्रॉम वेयर वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड. ये सिविल कोड है. आप किसी के साथ रह रहे हैं, अगर आप इन्फॉर्म नहीं करेंगे आपके 3 महीने की जेल या और 10,000 जुर्माना हो सकता है. सपोजिंग आप फिर भी रह रहे हैं, दिल्ली में रह रहे हैं, सोचते हैं क्यों उत्तराखंड को हम सोचें, हम यहाँ रह रहे हैं, उनको छोड़िए, हम उत्तराखंड के रहने वाले, बट वी आर लिविंग इन JNU, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू इन्फॉर्म. सम थर्ड पार्टी विल इन्फॉर्म. एनीबडी कैन इन्फॉर्म. Everybody is taking care of your welfare in this country now. That registrar will send you a notice. If you do not register even then, you will suffer either 6 months jail and 25,000 rupees fine. So, non-compliance doesn't just mean, okay, you won't get the protection of law, which 2 people may decide. पहले सोचने की बात यह कि कौन लोग लिव इन के लिए सोचते हैं. इस देश में लिव इन करना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है, क्योंकि आपको मालूम है परिवार से, समाज से, from every possible, from your landlord who you're going to try and rent the place from, every single step is going to be a hurdle on a daily basis. And yet 2 people may, for reasons that they believe in or otherwise, want to be in this form and not go through either a religious marriage or a civil marriage under the Special Marriage Act. And those people, if they do not do this, there will be, not only will the law want information from you, but the law will actually penalize your non-compliance. This kind of intrusion that the law is now making into the private space, it's actually very interesting because, Nivedita also offered us what is a feminist perspective. Looking at it from a legal standpoint, for very long, law में एक division थी between public and private. और फेमिनिस्ट ने आर्ग्यू किया कि जो प्राइवेट स्फीयर है, क्योंकि उसको बोला जाता था ये जो प्राइवेट स्फीयर है इसमें कानून का कुछ नहीं है, मतलब कि आप वहां पे मारपीट करें, मैरिटल रेप करें, कानून उसमें नहीं देखेगा, कानून दूसरी तरफ देखेगा. एंड अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड फेमिनिस्ट jurisprudence advocated for the private sphere to come into for law to be introduced to the private sphere insofar as it enhances the rights and freedoms of women. So the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act or the right to maintenance, etc., are examples of that. But never has there been this kind of intrusion कि आप कहाँ रह रहे हैं, क्यों रह रहे हैं, पुलिस को बताओ, फलान को बताओ, और अगर नहीं बताओगे तो वो आप नहीं रह सकते. Now let's look back at what the Supreme Court's development has been, and I want to make another point here apart from just looking at this law. I think it's very interesting. This government increasingly passes laws in defiance of Supreme Court judgments. And I've been look at the new Election Commission law which has been passed as to how the election commissioners will be selected. It is in the teeth of the law, the judgment passed by the Supreme Court. Why am I? There is a larger point behind this which I think requires all of us to pay attention to beyond the UCC. गवर्नमेंट का काम होता है रूल ऑफ लॉ को मेंटेन करना, उसको रखना. There is evidence today that the greatest defiance of the rule of law is by the present government. It is the people who are repeatedly asking for the rule of law to be enforced. And I think that's something very different that is taking place in our present times. तो आपने बता दिया, रजिस्ट्रार साहब ने समरी इंक्वायरी करी, उसमें फ्रॉड, कोअर्शन, मिसरिप्रेजेंटेशन, दीज आर वेरी वाइड, very open-ended, or suppression of material fact, etc., which depends entirely upon the registrar whether he thinks it will pass his test or not. Now, supposing it does not pass the test, then the police will also be informed to take appropriate action. हमें नहीं मालूम वो appropriate action क्या है, क्योंकि कानून उसका नहीं बताता. Maybe the rules will tell, maybe they won't, we don't know. But the police will be informed that now you have to take appropriate action. So this is not just about, when we talk of right to privacy, or right to privacy was affirmed as a fundamental right of everyone in this country by a 9-judge bench judgment of Puttaswamy, which had challenged it in the context of the Aadhaar initiative that the government had brought in, which of course the previous government had brought in, not even this government. In that they said that certain areas of our life will be totally private, जहाँ state का कोई intrusion नहीं हो सकता, और उसमें से who you marry, who you choose as your partner, how you live, your sexual autonomy, all these decisions will be completely private for the individual citizen concerned, and the state has no role to play in it. And in legal terms, they spoke about what we call in law the doctrine of proportionality, that how much intrusion of the state will be taken care of. So if it is said that this is to protect women, then you already have PWDVA Act. It's already protecting women. Why do we need this kind of intrusion? There is no rationale behind it, except that the state wants to actually control decisions taken by young people, and particularly control decisions taken around issues relating to intimate partners and sexual autonomy by women will be controlled through the state in this manner. I am going to actually stop there because I think Shahrukh is already with us and she can speak to it. The rest is more legalistic and I don't want to go into that. I would only conclude by saying what I said earlier, that ये जो पूरा एक डर बैठाया जा रहा है कि औरतों के लिए बहुत खतरा है इस देश में, और औरतों के साथ sometimes we are told that It's either rape will be picked up as an issue, or you have one instance which will be incident which will then captivate our public imagination, which becomes the peg on which these kind of laws are brought in. I think if we want to challenge the government on, and there were many points that Nivedita made, I want to take that part forward and not just look at live-in relationship. I do believe that yes, personal laws need to be reviewed through incremental processes, women taking the lead, moving forward and asking for change, and all personal laws need to be changed. It is true that under the Muslim personal law, in terms of inheritance, a daughter will get half of what the son will get. Many of you here may be from born in Hindu families. I am born in a Hindu family. We don't talk enough about this. Hindu inheritance में एक ब्रह्मास्त्र है. उस ब्रह्मास्त्र का नाम है वसीयत, will. Everything can be willed away by the parent to anyone. But who is it willed to? It is willed to the son or the sons. If there are 4, it can go to all 4 and the daughters will not get. If there is 1, it will go to 1. The more liberal parents will say, okay, we'll give the lion's share to the son and we'll give a little bit to the daughters. We don't talk about the discrimination that is practiced through will, because will is seen, oh, that is anybody's right. It's part of our individual rights. But let's look at the pattern which follows. Under Muslim law, you cannot will away more than 1/3 of your property. Everybody who's in the family gets something. I would like all of you to think for yourself. How many of us born in Hindu families actually got or will get an equal share in the property, whatever be the property, less, more, doesn't matter. The principle of equality is important. I don't care if it is 100 rupees or 1 crore. How many of us are actually getting equal to our brothers? And I think it's high time women born in Hindu families spoke about this. I fought in my house for it. I come from a very progressive family. We are all professionals. It's inherent in the family. And if you don't talk about it, then this mask of Hindu women are getting, Hindu daughters are getting. Let's do a survey. Let's get this reality out in black and white. And then let's see whether the Uniform Civil Code attacks the provision of the will. That is the Brahmastra that is hidden in the Hindu Succession Act. Let's call it out. So when laws are being made, let's look at a broader perspective. They are being made for very different reasons. Gender justice and definitely rights of women are not there. Rights of women are being taken care of by other laws, and women have gone to court and have gone to the legislature and got those changes for themselves. Thank you.